Hey, welcome to another episode of the Fit Growth Machine podcast. I'm Roisentul, your host, and today, man, I'm super excited. We have the one and only Jon Loomer. If you don't know who he is, he's like the OG for Facebook ads. I have learned everything I know from him. If you look something up, on Google about Facebook ad, pixel, or how to do something about Facebook, I'm 100% sure you will find his blog and podcast among the top results. So I'm super excited to chat about what's working right now, as he has been in the industry forever. Facebook should be called or named Facebook by Jon Loomer for real. And I personally owe many of the things I know about that platform to him. So he's a dad of three boys, and he's the host of the podcast. So you go and check it out because it's really thorough as everything he puts out. And man, I'm super excited to get started. But before introducing him, let me remind you that this episode is brought to you by BSR Digital. I mean, we get it. Customer acquisition costs are going up. There's lack of tracking. Attribution is driving you nuts, right? And we are going to discuss that with Jon in a sec. And audience sizes are getting smaller and smaller after the iOS 13 update. If that wasn't enough, there are other factors such as the recession and supply chain issues making it harder than ever to grow your e-commerce brand. That's why now more than ever, we need to understand that it's really important to level up the marketing and design a solid strategy, as what used to work doesn't anymore. At BSR Digital, we have been helping countless e-commerce brands that wanted to scale their business to the next level through paid ads and email marketing for over a decade. To learn more, you can visit us at bsrdigital.com, and you can also email us at hello@bsrdigital.com. Now, as promised, I have Jon here with me. Hey, man, thanks for being on the show.
Oh man, thanks so much, Brian. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm so excited about having you here. I told you this off the record, but I've been following you for a while. I said this in the intro as well, but yeah, I just appreciate you a lot. And for those who are listening or watching this video and don't know who Jon is, you should go and check it out. I think it will be enough with a simple Google search on something about Facebook ads, and you will find him right there. So pay attention to this episode, as I'm sure you will get a lot of golden nuggets. So, yeah, Jon, why don't you start by introducing yourself and telling the audience more about your story?
Holy cow! Yeah, it's been a quite a journey. So, I mean, I consider myself a bit of an accidental marketer. I didn't go to school for marketing or business. I had kind of a rich employment past that especially was crazy for a period of like 5 years. I worked for the National Basketball Association doing some amazing stuff, which actually exposed me to Facebook back in 2007. So there were 50 million people on the platform. I left the NBA after 3 seasons and got laid off twice. Some pretty cool jobs in there, but I got laid off twice as the economy was really bad during that time. And I didn't want to move my family again. There was a lot of bouncing around. So during that time, really from Facebook, the National Basketball Association, through my last job, I was learning a lot about marketing without really realizing I was learning a lot about marketing, and like build, just basic website management and building and stuff. So I just started jonloomer.com, didn't really know what I was going to do anything with it. That was 2011. I mean, it just baffles me how long ago that was. So again, I didn't know how to start a business. I just was writing, eventually found a niche in advanced Facebook ads, really in 2012. Launched my first product at the end of 2012. And it's been an incredible journey, lots of ups and downs, but like I've seen everything related to Facebook ads in that platform, over that time. And it's honestly, it's been a dream come true in so many ways to like run my own business. Never thought I'd ever do it. And here we are, going on 12 years later.
Yeah, I started in the let's say in the Facebook world, not necessarily paid, and then I transitioned to paid in 2013, right? I used to have a different version of the current agency, and we used to do social media management. And then when we were advertising, probably I remember at the right side, right, the right column was right.
Yeah, right hand
Before,
column. Yeah.
yeah, our editor, all the stuff. I don't remember the exact year of that, but I remember during those years to finding your blog. And man, I'm curious, how much time did you spend writing each of those blog posts? Those were pretty thorough and long,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you got to understand. So those the first year especially, I had nothing but time on my hands. It's like, because really I didn't know I was starting a business. I didn't have a job. I really wasn't busy otherwise. And so I wrote, I think I wrote more than there were days in the year in that first year. And, I've slowed down over the years. I still have like a goal this year of Tuesday, Thursday, so twice a week I'm writing blog posts. But I've written over 1,100 blog posts. I'm not sure where it is now. But when you've written that much, also, you learn how to write efficiently. So truthfully, writing a blog post often takes as little as like half hour or so to maybe a couple of hours, but it really, and I write a lot of long, thorough tutorials and whatnot, but it's just all right there in my head, and walking through how I did something. And what's nice is like I can then repurpose that and like, okay, this is a topic, I can talk about it in a video, I could talk about it in a podcast. And it's been, yeah, it's a matter of having a process, and that's where I am now.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, content is so important, and we are going to talk about that later, and about what you're currently doing for regarding content. But I remember some of those blog posts, like those were great. Some of those like were for probably I don't know if entry level, but some others were so advanced. It's like, hey, do you want to track, I don't know, the scroll depth? I
I
remember
knew you were going
using
to say that. Yeah.
yeah. I have a few of those that I train my team based on that, workshops, and clients say, hey, we should, like, some of my former clients used to have like a really long sales letter, like half an hour sales letters, like crazy. And he's like, this is perfect. So and many other things is that were probably like not so simple to discover, right? And what I
Right.
loved about those blog posts is that you were never afraid of testing, experimenting, and then telling the audience about your findings. And that's not only about reading a report online and writing about that. You were just putting the, as they say, skin in the game, right?
Right. And I think it's also important because there's a lot of misleading information out there where advertisers will share just their incredible results, right? And so that was never my goal, to impress you with my results. And that's why a lot of times too, I'll show you a strategy, and I might tell you like what my results are, but ultimately, like, that's not really the point. Like, none of this stuff is about doing something that's magically going to work. It's just about trying new things and using Facebook ads in creative ways. So yeah, I mean, the things that usually got the most traction were an experiment, doing things, using the tools in different ways that maybe people aren't used to. And those long tutorials often got through. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of e-commerce brands, founders, directors are listening or watching this episode, and they're curious. Facebook. I tell my clients, at least, Facebook used to be, I don't know if easier, but different. release, right? The good
Yeah.
old days,
Yeah.
as they say. There used to be like some, let's say, little tricks and tactics or how to scale things. I remember some of your, I don't know if tricks, but retarget the hot audiences with
Yeah.
rich campaigns because you keep Facebook and many good things that probably many of them are still valid. But what do you think that has changed after the iOS 14 update?
Well, look, there are multiple things that have changed over the last few years. And iOS honestly just kind of accelerates the difficulty because that the remarketing of those hot audiences, I still do that. The problem is it's just so expensive to reach people now. Whereas it was kind of magical, like 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Like it was so cheap to target these people who are highly engaged with you. Like you could spend just a matter of a few dollars a day and get crazy results because of that. But now, it's just even if you're targeting these small audiences of like a few hundred people, it's expensive. And if they're not converting, it becomes, it's still usually profitable, but not nearly as crazy profitable as it used to be. But yeah, the iOS stuff, I mean, there are two things there. The first is the reality, which is it's going to be a little bit tougher for Facebook to optimize. But there's also the perception, because when you lose 28-day click attribution reporting, I don't think people realize, depending on your industry, how many of your conversions are happening beyond 7-day click. Some of it's just perceived drop in performance because Facebook's not able to report it anymore. Now, if you're seeing on the back end, you're not getting as many sales. You're not getting as many sales. That's understandable. But some of that was just perceived. Now, not all advertisers have the ability to view that. I do, but it's not a default view either. So the tracking, the reporting, showing that it's actually working, those have all been the biggest challenges over the last couple of years. So I get the sense we're heading in a better direction.
Yeah. So I think that if we go like back to when, I don't know if when iOS 13 was released, but probably a few months later, right? A lot of brands were starting to, see a decrease in performance. But I think there were some, I mean, there was a context that probably not many people think about, which was, COVID hit in 2020, and there was a boom,
Yeah.
at least in e-commerce, right? Many online businesses, right? And then that boom started to decrease slowly. There were some technical issues like, this iOS 14 update or then 15 and now 16, right? But
Mhm.
there were some, serious things going on in the world, then recession, supply chain issues, and many other things. So that's there as well, right?
Right. Yeah. I
So
mean, it's been a lot happening at once. And so that's why it's really hard to pinpoint, oh, is it that Facebook ads haven't been working as well? Or is it just there's so many things that's impacting it? Because I just think in general, you're going to have a hard time finding anyone finding incredible success on any platform right now. Um, it's just kind of the way things are.
yeah, what we discuss here pretty often is that brands need to level up the marketing, right? They need to build their
Yeah.
avatars. They actually need to be actionable about them, not only like build them and leave them there, be in touch with their customers, asking them for feedback, what they want, how they want it, and then put that, in their marketing website ads everywhere because things were there are many new brands due to the pandemic and many, brands that, go way back, but all of them have had things, I think, easier. And now the acquisition costs are going up, right?
Mhm.
In the, at least again, in the e-commerce space, but I think in advertising in general, I don't know if you agree. So what brands
Mhm.
that I mean, the brands we talk to, they generally say, Brian, I get you. Facebook can be producing results and it might be underreporting by, I don't know, 40, 50%, whatever. How do I track things? If it's not the backend only, how do I know what Facebook generates for my brand?
Yeah, it's challenging. There are a bunch of third-party tools out there. I can't really vouch for them. I feel like these third-party tools also come and go, right? They make a lot of guarantees about how many extra conversions they can show you. I'm I tend to be pretty skeptical about them. I mean, ultimately, Facebook's going to know some stuff that these third party tools often don't as well. Just like Google Analytics isn't going to know about view through conversions from Facebook. But so I I've never really cared so much about stuff matching up because it's not going to match up. But URL parameters with Google Analytics certainly helps. One approach I'll take, and it depends on your company whether this is, or your brand, your industry, whether this is even possible. But if you have just a handful of products, you can create unique landing pages that you only use for your ads, that have forms that are only used for your ads. So that way there is no doubt. It's like anyone who came either from your ad or someone who shared your ad, which I think still should be included personally. And if it goes to that form, that was as a result of your advertising. So if you really care about that, of tracking it and as accurately as possible, I mean, that's probably the best way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, we always tell them that they should find a way to track, but they don't need to chase the sun because it's
No.
not possible. The 100% accuracy when it comes to attribution is not possible because it depends on the lenses you put on to see reality, first touch, last touch, weight touch, and many other things. And as you said, probably a video, somebody watched the video on YouTube, TikTok, or any other platform, and then they walk away because they just want to see, I don't know, the product features or testimonials, whatever, and then they make a purchase from their, I don't know, their phone or any other device a month later, 3 days later, whatever. How can you track that back to a video? It's, depending on the case, it's almost impossible. So it's probably the wrong question to ask, right? How do I find 100% accuracy?
Well, and I think that leads to another discussion. And this has helped me change my view a little bit of attribution and like the metrics, because I've always been very focused on the metrics and like driving traffic and whatnot. And you can get too lost in that in terms of measuring performance. And I think video is a good example of it. So I was very slow to coming around to creating video. Lots of reasons. I didn't want to get in front of a camera. It's also a lot of work. And I didn't feel like I knew what I was doing creating videos. I just didn't create video. But it came to a point where I had no choice. I had to get involved in this stuff. But one thing I learned quickly is, like, first of all, you shouldn't create videos that just sell stuff all the time. Like, that's not what people want to do when they watch a video. And your video is not going to do well if all you do is sell stuff. So the first thing is to be helpful. Well, what happens when all of your videos are only helpful and informative, and you're not, adding a CTA to everything? Suddenly it's really, really hard to measure. Like, you have no idea what's happening after people watch that video, and you just have to accept it and embrace it. So I think the thing that has really inspired me to keep going with video and validated, this effort, and also, again, changed my perspective of attribution and measurement, is, even though those videos will show nothing in terms of conversions because can't measure it, I've had so many people come to me who like booked a one-on-one with me or signed up for my private membership, and they told me that it wasn't because of one video, but the fact that I was showing up every day in their feed with these videos, showing expertise and whatnot, just reminding them that I'm there, that inspired them ultimately to sign up and pay for something. And that is very difficult to measure. I would not have known that without them telling me. So to me, that's just a transformation in terms of how we look at measurement, but probably how we should look at content too. Because if all my ads were just sign up for a Power Hitters Club, book a one-on-one with me, you're like, and those videos would do terribly, by the way, if that's all I did. but the result of that is like, I can't really measure the impact of that without people telling me. And that's just kind of the new different world we're in right now.
I even remembered, like, I don't know if it was the first video or one of the first videos you put on TikTok that said something like, that you were testing the format, that you were going to get better, and you actually did, and you are now explaining people how you do things,
Yeah.
how to edit videos, how to so. Congrats on that, because you've been writing forever. But as you said, probably you started recording short form videos since last year, and it's been great. And
October. Yeah.
for me, at least, as one of your followers, is actually super valuable because it's short form, to the point, and it always adds value, even if it's a small thing. The other day, I watched one about remarketing. Hey, and I said, probably, what is he going to say that will be new to me? But since it's you, I said, I'll watch it. And hey, you should probably check off,
Oh
the
yeah.
audience expansion or something. It's like,
Yeah.
you're right. Let me check if one of the video buyers in my team has that. So it's like, sometimes it's the details, and even more right now in today's, Facebook world, right? So I wanted to ask you to go back to Facebook, and then we can come back to
Yeah.
video
Sure.
again.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, if I don't ask you this, my team is going to kill me, and probably the listeners as well. What do you see that's working right now on Facebook? I know that question is super vague, but
It is.
or it could lead to many answers. But what was working before, and what do you see that's working, or easier, probably what's not working as before in terms of the ad campaign structure, audiences, etc.
Yeah. The truth is, it's kind of flipped, right? It's unfortunate for my type of business. I feel like Facebook ads are less effective if your goal, your primary goal, isn't necessarily to sell something. Like, you're not an e-com business. My goal is kind of, it's a long tail. I want you to watch my videos. I want you to read my blog posts. I want to get you to my website, that kind of thing. I'm never gonna be a hard sales guy. That stuff is really hard right now. And the reason for that is the optimization side. Um, for whatever reason, Facebook has never gotten good at optimizing for quality traffic or true quality video engagement, like any type of quality engagement. And it's honestly baffling why they have never done this. Like, why can't we have a quality uh, traffic optimization option where we know we're going to pay more, but Facebook will then measure, okay, they're going to spend more time on the site, they're going to click around more, they're going to return, like all these indicators that it's good traffic. Because as a content creator, I really care about that, and I can remarket to those people, etc. Same thing with any type of engagement. Like, why can't we focus on people who are likely to share our content, or who watch not a video, the through play is garbage. Like, they watch something to 15 seconds. Like, that's not good enough. Like, why can't I focus on people who are likely to watch close to the entire thing when it's longer than 15 seconds? Or the various types of engagement. Like, the people, I've found that people who love posts are often highly engaged. Like, there are indicators that tell Facebook whether someone's highly engaged, and you should be able to optimize for that, but you can't. So the result is, when you optimize for any type of engagement, link clicks, traffic, you're going to get garbage. You just are. And it's unfortunate. So that's kind of my soapbox in terms of how it is hard for my type of business. E-com, though, is what is on the rise, I think, for Facebook advertising. For many of the same reasons that it's bad for my type of business, it actually works for e-com. And let me explain. So Facebook has all this data on people. The optimization actually really works well. And like, even all these complaints I had about engagement optimization, traffic optimization, it still works the way it should. Facebook's focusing on people to get you the most engagement or most link clicks as possible at the lowest price. They do that really well. Unfortunately, quality sucks. But if you're selling something, this is where it gets pretty powerful, especially in the e-com. And you've used your product catalog. They know the category of product that you're selling. They know who buys products. They know who's looking for a pair of shoes, who's, looking for a new hat, whatever. And it doesn't matter what the brand is. That I've given this story a lot, this example a lot, because it's something that really amazes me. Like anytime I'm searching for like a pair of shoes, like a specific type of shoe, right? So it's not necessarily a dress shoe, it's not a tennis shoe, it's a casual dress shoe, kind of in between, right? And I won't necessarily get a whole bunch of ads for that specific shoe. It's that type of shoe, right? And that's so obviously Facebook's really good at seeing that and showing me relevant ads. So e-com, broad targeting, catalog, is kind of where we're heading, and where Facebook is obviously, I think, put most of their focus is making that work. And hopefully they're going to get better at some of the like creative optimizations, all these things that they're just trying to make everything as streamlined as possible right now.
Yeah, that's great. So you said broad targeting, right?
Yeah.
When you find, and I mean, are you referring to broad audiences, like being specific only about, I don't know, country or any other demographic things? Or
Really just going, yeah, country targeting.
okay,
Well, because the reality is this: if you're selling something, you're giving Facebook the right to go broad anyway, because you could use a custom audience, you could use interest targeting, but you can't turn off their expansion tools. So that's just like, oh, here's a guide if you want it, but they're going to go broad anyway. So I don't know if most people realize that, like when you're optimizing for any type of conversion, you can't turn off expansion. It's just on, except for if you're using a custom audience that you can turn that off potentially. But so it's going broad either way. So I found when it comes to that type of a campaign where you want a sale and you're using a product catalog, you might have some exceptions, but usually the way to go is just to go country targeting now and let the algorithm figure it out.
and how do you scale that? I mean, let's say a broad campaign is
Just
working great. Do you just
yeah.
increase the budget?
I mean, there's really no other way to scale that unless you're looking at like countries, right? If you want to expand the countries that you're showing it to, but you're not going to be able to expand the audience anymore than what it is. I mean, there's always okay, should we add additional creative and whatnot so it lasts longer? You scale it kind of that way. But yeah, beyond that, that is one of the weird challenges now is scaling becomes more about just increasing your budget or increasing the countries you're targeting, because Facebook wants as much data as possible to go abroad.
Yeah. Going back to short form videos, do you think that e-commerce brands should start doing that as well?
I think everybody should, any business, honestly. And I, it's a little bit tougher for me to say, oh yeah, ecom, you should do what I'm doing. I mean, it's a little different, right? So I'm in the business of educating people, and that's also my product. So it's really easy to do that. But for an ecom, we still need to get involved in it in some way. So whether that's showing how people use the product, and I talk a lot. I talked earlier about how you shouldn't always be sell. Ecom's different, right? I mean, ecom is primarily selling stuff, so you can't really avoid it. But you can still how the product is made, how people are using it, user generated content, whatever it takes to keep your product top of mind. If you're not doing it, your competitors will, is a thing. And that is the way. If you're solely focused on advertising, you're missing out, because you can reach your audience in other ways as well. And if you're not doing it, your competitors will be.
Yeah. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you work with both brands and advertisers, right?
Well, so it's all within the community and people who book one-on-one. So it's a combination. Yeah.
Yeah. So this time for advertisers and more specifically for advertising agencies, what do you think they should do, or how do you think they should evolve in 2023 based on everything that's going on in this space? It could
Oof.
be role wise. I mean, which roles? For example, we hired a creative director. We didn't
Yeah.
have someone that it comes from the advertising, offline or like the classic advertising space to be creative and think about real ads, not like. So that's what we are doing right now, for example. So like those things for others, platform wise, focus on other platforms. What do you think they should be doing, or what would you tell them?
Yeah. I mean, look, this is something I've thought about personally too, because I never started an agency. I've always thought about whether I should, leverage my audience to start an agency. But if I were to, I think one of the primary focuses would be on video. So whether that could be organic, that could be paid, it could be video strategy. I mean, start with what you know, right? It could be video strategy, which is lower maintenance, but it could also be the editing. It could be the actual creation of the videos. These are all things that people need, and they're just not equipped. Brands, companies are not equipped. Um, so I think that's one of the first places I'd start. Obviously, they still need you for the advertising side of it as well. But I'd go there. Also, be watching the AI space very closely in terms of how you can leverage that. That is just something that's we really only have surface level how powerful this is and what we can do with it. But the next iterations are going to grow exponentially, and it's not something we should be scared of. It's like, okay, how can we leverage that for our agency to make us better and give us an edge? They're probably going to be all kinds of tools to hook into the API that make your job easier.
I mean, that's crazy. I mean, AI. I was telling you offline that I watched some of your videos and said, hey, team, we should start thinking about leveraging this in a way because Chat GPT, among other AI tools, but let's be real, everyone is talking about that one right now, right? Uh,
Yeah.
you can, you can, many people start. I mean, I at least started by asking Chat GPT one of the first times I use it. I'm from Argentina. We won the World Cup in December, the soccer World Cup, and it was like everyone was like the hype was really high about that to write songs about Messi and the World Cup and whatever. Like we were playing around with my family and like fooling around, but then we started realizing that it's actually powerful and actionable for work purposes, right?
Mhm.
So how are you using it right now for advertising or anything related to work?
Yeah, it's honestly right now, it's still a discovery period for me in terms of like, okay, is this something long term I'm going to be doing X with it? I'm not really there yet. It's like it's not part of my routine and my process, but I'm experimenting with it a lot. So an example I gave is you I asked it to generate a Facebook ad strategy. So I told it about the product I wanted to sell, provide as many details as I could. And I said, okay, now create a Facebook ad strategy that includes copy, format, targeting, or anything else. I think I had some sort of vague ending as well. And it broke it down into sections and gave me all these suggestions for a strategy. Um, and that part was powerful and crazy as it was. But then what people have to understand, like there's a lot of pushback on AI and ChatGPT generally, and I get it. The first of all, I get the just general fear, but there's a lot of skepticism as well that the results aren't very good. Usually that's because you just accept that first response at face value, like, oh yeah, that's like someone said, the strategy recommended included carousel ads, and they don't think you should be using carousel ads anymore or something. I'm like, okay. So I actually asked it. I was like, okay, I don't want to do a carousel ad. So I followed it up. I said, I don't want to do a carousel ad. What if I did video? What recommendation? Give me 5 video strategies that I can use. And it gave 5 very specific approaches that I could use to promote this specific product. And it's like, okay, now of the one I like the most, write a script. And I wrote a script for that video. And then that's where, like, my business manager thought I was insane for creating this video the other day. That basically ChatGPT wrote for me. It just looks like a ChatGPT ad, basically, but ChatGPT wrote it. I acted it out, so I look kind of ridiculous, and I'm not a good actor. But that was kind of the point of, like, a lot of this is just understanding the potential of it. Like, I had it write a 60-second video script where I gave it some parameters on, like, look, there's these two people talking about ChatGPT, one who's a believer, one who's a skeptic. What I found is ChatGPT is not a good comedy writer. Like, as much as I wanted it to be funny, it couldn't be funny. But then, like, I told it to be, to write as if it's a writer from The Godfather, or write a blockbuster thriller or whatnot. And all of a sudden, like, this was actually pretty good. And so I wrote the title, because I asked for 5 title options. It gave me a title option I liked. It wrote everything, and I create the video. So I think the most valuable part for me, and I think what probably most marketers could get on board with, except the overall concern is that this defensiveness, that it can't replace me. It's not better than humans, right? And that's not the point. You're not just taking everything it gives you at face value. Now, it's going to get more and more powerful. The point is, it can make you better, right? I'm not good at, like, I don't have a long history of video strategy. So the fact that it can give me these video ideas of what to do is really helpful for brainstorming and just generating ideas. I can completely scrap the script it gives me, but it gave me something I can work with.
Yeah.
And I just think that's where, right now, at least in its current form, where it's most valuable for me and for most marketers.
Yeah, I totally agree. The first thing I told my team when I came to, to know Chat GPT was that it would help them get off the blank page.
Yeah.
And everything is better than a blank page. And if you think that in the first response, we don't know how to ask yet. I mean, how to properly ask questions. Many people don't study, how to properly ask questions with their clients, colleagues, friends, etc. Right? And this is no exception. If we don't ask a robot or an AI, let's say, what we want, because we are learning, and we criticize the first output, which was already probably better than many of the things that we would have thought, then we are no different in any other space. I mean, if I don't know, I'm building a house for me and my family as we speak, right? And they present me with the first drawings, and this is the living room, the bedroom, blah blah. If I say, okay, you're useless, go, I wanted the bedroom at the right. Now it's like, no, man. I mean, this is an iteration. Why is this different? Because people are scared, I think, right?
Well, and I do believe those fears are valid.
Oh yeah.
Like, we do have to, well, first of all, it's like, is it going to replace me? It might replace some people. Now you think about the internet, right? The internet's the same thing. Like, if you have told people in 1990 that, especially in the service industry, that one day you'd be able to just Google a question on how to do something and they could do it, and they don't need you to do it anymore, they'd probably be terrified, right? So it's just a matter of evolving. Like, there were new jobs that were created because of the internet, a lot of them. Yep. And the way we used to do things no longer relevant in a lot of ways, and those were lost. That's the way, at least I make myself feel better about this, because it is scary. It really is. I mean, there's all social aspects of it, and, like, I hope we have the technology to manage it well and control it as well. But if you're only talking about it from a work perspective, I think it's important to think first about how it can make you better at what you do, and not worry about it replacing you. Don't be defensive and say, hey, I'm better than that. that robot. The robots are going to keep getting better. And honestly, this is the one thing I've been telling people that I think at least it's a good argument for accepting that we will always be needed in some capacity. So let's say, for example, all of a sudden, every business has the ability just to access AI to generate a marketing strategy, Facebook ad strategy, and execute it, right? If they did, everyone now has a good strategy. Okay. How do you then stand out above your competition? Because they're all doing the same stuff. So it's all relative, right? So currently, otherwise, if you don't have anyone managing your stuff, you're gonna have really good strategies, you're gonna have really bad strategies. Now everyone supposedly at their fingertips have access to good strategies. So now what is going to help them compete? You still need a specialist who's an expert in this to be able to take you above that competition. So that's the way I see it, in terms of it may change our roles, absolutely, but there's still gonna be a matter of, okay, who's using it the best, who's leveraging it, and marketers aren't suddenly gonna be replaced by robots.
I mean, marketers have been seeing this AI thing in one way or another in the, I don't know, last few years. I don't know, Performance Max on Google. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the algorithms inside. Like, I'm talking about, what's visible for the marketer, Performance Max, Advantage Plus, or
Yeah.
going broad, as you said. So I remember in the old days, people actually needed us marketers to actually go, because it was really, I mean, the entry barrier for someone that didn't know how to create a campaign was probably harder for them to get something to work. Now, as you said, many people, we do audits, and of course, we are not perfect, but we do audits and we see that what's imperfectly created in ways that we would have never created things in that way, they are working fine. They have, I don't know, an
Yeah.
ABO campaign with many broad ad sets running together, and all of them are doing great. And what you say, if you come in and take over the account, you say, I'm not going to fix what's working, right? But
Mhm.
that's not the way I could have created it. But the point that I wanted to get to is that AI is here for advertisers and has been here for a while. I think for now, at least, because it's evolving really fast, I try to think as ChatGPT, for instance, as, let's say, a way powerful and way better and faster Google search. And I will explain.
Yeah.
Do a Google search. You have the information, but you need to look and put together. The other day I said, hey, let's create these email sequences, this email sequence about X, uh, putting together some, benchmarks, industry benchmarks, blah, 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 and iterated. And I got some pretty cool insights. Now we can say, oh, I don't want that source listed here. I don't trust that. So that's a different story. Hey, ChatGPT replace this source for another one. I don't know, right? So it's about iteration, but it will curate and find everything that you would otherwise have to, would have, to go manually find it. So I like to think of that. But then Alex Hormozy, I don't know if you know who he is, but Alex
Mhm.
Hormozy
Yeah.
recently said, he did, I don't know, a 40-minute video on AI and stuff like that. And he said something very interesting. Why do you think that a salesperson could be better than let's say, an advanced AI, or salesman or sales AI, let's say? How do you think that's going to be possible? The AI is going to go through thousands and thousands of hours of training and content that no human being can consume on Earth. And they're going to be perfect on that, or let's say imperfect, but way better. So thinking that we will be better, it's not our battle to be better, right? We need to work with it to make us better, as you said. So yeah.
Right. So let's use that example though too. Let's say that every business had this easy access to this bot salesperson. Are they automatically going to make crazy money? Because now all of a sudden the bar is raised. So as a consumer, you still only have limited money to spend, right? So now, yes, you're getting better sales pitches than you used to, but you don't respond to the same sales pitches that you used to because you're getting even better ones. So what is separating you? But it's also a matter of like, yeah, it's adjusting, seeing where, okay, are there areas where the AI is going to be better than what I can do? Leverage that. Where is it that you can supplement that, make it better? That's what we have to figure out as marketers, and it's still kind of an unknown.
Yeah. John, it's been a pleasure to have you here. I don't have enough words to thank you because of what you and your work mean to me and my team. So I wanted to ask you again. And before we leave, the last question I always ask my guests, and this is selfish because it's for me, but then I put it out there for everyone else as I did in 2022, which is I compile a list of books because I hate reading the same thing over and over because I cannot get off, reading about business and product. It's like I want to read different things. So I ask the guests that come here and read things. If you don't read them, it's okay. We can talk about who you follow or who you admire, but it would be in the list of the books of top books in 2023. In
Oh man, it's funny because I do read. It's fun. This is one of the advantages of COVID when it hit. I was never really a reader. Um, I made lots of excuses for why I didn't. I don't really have the attention span and whatnot. But once COVID hit, that's something I changed and I started ordering books. But I really don't read business books. It's often baseball books, it's historical nonfiction, uh, societal evaluations, things like that. Oh man. So I'm trying to think of but so you're looking for something that you would want to read based on what I've read? Is that what you're looking for?
it could be anything. It could be anything. It could be something that it could be about work, or it could be about life, or anything else that you remember that that book was great for something. Or it could be someone you admire, you've been following, a former or a current mentor as well. It could be anything.
It could be anything. Um boy, oh boy, like I've got so much rolling through my head right now. I should prepare for this better. Um here's actually a business book. So I wasn't prepared for that. But this is something that actually his philosophy has impacted me quite a bit, ever since I started. They Ask, You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. So it's that overall philosophy. That is my SEO strategy. I don't have any keyword strategy. I don't do anything with like, okay, what videos should I create or what blog posts should I write? It's all based on questions that people have or what might people be asking right now, and answering that. And it's just it's a really simple approach. It clarified in my mind really what I should do and simplified it, right? Instead of like being so obsessed with, what are people searching? What are people asking me? What are they asking our salespeople? What are they asking our customer support? What are they asking in our community? That's your topic. So They Ask, You Answer.
Awesome. So for those who don't follow you already, where should they go to find more about you and your business?
I mean, JonLoomer.com is the home base. I'm kind of everywhere right now, though. So at Jon Loomer on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn. It's Jon Loomer Digital on Facebook. And the Pubcast with Jon Loomer is my podcast as well. And I'm that's mainly been short form over the last year or so, but I'm starting to get in having guests and stuff, having some long form as well. So check that out too.
Awesome. Thank you again, John. Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Brian. I appreciate it.